Sunday school is a place for fools. It's hot in hell, but the devil's cool. Don't keep Satan waiting. Don't keep Satan waiting. So don't just sit there, join the club. Sell your soul to Beelzebub.
Hey, GL Knight and everybody else, it's me. Oh, it's me saying I'm your favorite satanic streamer, and the sin is in. It's time to turn it on, turn it up a notch, and see how things are. How you doing, GL? Hoping it's good. Man. I almost forgot it was Valentine's Day today. You know, I'm doing okay, but not good enough to remember that it was Valentine's Day. Like, me and the Countess just sort of sat in, and like I think we kind of both did that thing where we both kind of forgot, because things have been so stressful. Trying to just get back to normal. Hey, Dusty, what's up? Yeah, just trying to get things back to normal and figure out what is what. Renee Chavez Jr., how you doing? That brings up a question. Renee Chavez Jr. Like, I'm used to Renee being a girl's name, but the junior implies male. So that actually got me thinking, hey, wait a minute. We don't actually have like a suffix for if a girl is named after her mom or dad. Like, I don't even think that's a thing that tends to happen. I don't think I've ever run into a girl who had the same name as her mom. You know? Yeah. It's a unisex name. But it just got me thinking how we don't name girls after their moms, but we'll name boys after their fathers. Hey, Hobo Joe. Oh, might be. I'm not entirely sure. I've seen Renee spelled a bunch of different ways. Yeah, I am Josie of the line of Josies. Yeah, you don't tend to see that. Just one of those things. Better naming your kids after fictional characters? Well, it depends. Like that one depends. That could be cool or it could not be cool. Like I knew one girl who was named Jessica, but was named after the queen from Dune, which was very accurate because she was a bitch too. Yeah, names are a weird thing. I don't. Khaleesi? What's that from? Is that from Dune? I don't know. It's been a while since I read or saw anything Dune related. The awkwardness of GOT season 8. Oh, Game of Thrones. Oh, it's a Game of Thrones. Oh, is it a Game of Thrones thing? And it's been a while since I read or saw anything Games of Thrones either. Yeah, is that the name of the Mother of Dragons, Khaleesi? Because that would be like that. I could see why I could see people doing that. Because if you name them after Jon Snow, then their name is just John, right? People already spell it Jon, so it'd just be like, oh yeah, his name's John. No, I'm named after Jon Snow. Really? As opposed to Khaleesi, like if you know Game of Thrones, you're like, well, I know where that's from. It's the real name. Her real name is Daenerys. Oh, oh, that's right. That's right. She has like a title. Yeah. Ah, well, whatever. I mean, that's kind of cool, but if like too many people do it at the same time, it's like less cool. Hey, Alexi. Or Tyler's Khaleesi because she's like wife of Cal. Oh, okay, got it. I don't know. Well, here's the thing about like fantasy worlds. If you kill an entire kingdom, you, there's no way that's not genocide. Like, that's something that kind of happens a lot. So it's like, yeah, in fantasy worlds, it's a little more debatable. Hey, dice rolling, Captain Lazar. You know, Behold, Muffy Taddacy, wife of Tad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, like with Daenerys is clearly like trauma. Yeah, Sauron was big into genocide. You know, he did all kinds of things. He committed genocide against the Ent. You know, against the elves, basically everybody. You know, so it seems like in order to be considered a genocidal maniac, you gotta think smaller. You know, it can't just be everybody. Named your kid Nolan after Omni Man. Nice and wholesome. Yeah, to me, like I'm not a big fan of Invincible, despite everything. You know, I don't like Invincible, kind of for the same reason I don't like Ender's Game. You know, because like there's a little bit of this weird like fascist apologia that I'm not fond of in fucking Invincible. You know, just like there's a lot of it in Ender's Game, the Ender series. I actually hate the Ender series because I find myself constantly like whenever I would read Ender, same thing with like Invincible, where I'm just sort of like, no, fuck you. No, you don't get forgiven. Gone too far. You know, of course that applies more to Omni Man, but yeah, the Boys TV show is way better than the comic. The comic is just so fucking nasty. Like it's way nastier. To the point where you're like, can I root for anybody? Like the TV show doesn't stray from the point, which is people with superpowers are a problem. But like you read the boys, you read the comic, you just sort of like everybody sucks. Like everybody, like forget problematic. Everyone's just fucking awful. You know, it's like, can somebody have a redeeming quality, please? And that was something that I think Kripke was really good at. He was like, okay, these are our main characters. They all have to have a redeeming quality. You can root for the advertisement pages. I forget if it was one of those comics that had advertisement pages. I think it was an imprint. I don't know if it had. Yeah, yeah, the boys' comic's pretty vile. Yeah, I like superhero deconstruction. It's not really the deconstruction that I have. It's not the deconstruction I have a problem with. Um, but some of the shit that they pulled, like if you want superhero deconstruction, Watchmen, the Watchmen comic, the Watchmen graphic novel, the original one by Alan Moore, like you can't get more deconstruction than that. You know, that's the ultimate. You know, because that's a meditation on the nature of that kind of power. You know, not just on a personal character level, but on a world level. It's like, what would this really fucking mean? And whereas I feel like Invincible kind of it didn't go that far. It didn't go that far. Yeah, if you want a reconstruction of the hero story, All Star Superman by Grant Morrison is probably the best because that'll like you will believe a man can fly if you read that comic. Like you're like, oh man, Superman's great. Superman's awesome, but they also like never. The thing I really liked about Grant Morrison is he understood that Superman is not cool. He can be awesome, but he's not like big flashy. Those aren't what makes. I mean, he is big flashy, but like that's not what makes him awesome. What makes him awesome in that comic is that he's able to finally communicate to Lex Luthor what Lex Luthor really is. Like he reflects Lex Luthor back to Lex Luthor, and it's like, this is who you are, Lex. You wouldn't be like this if I wasn't here. Bullshit. What are you talking about? Every time we fucking fight, I want you to make another decision, a different decision, but you never do. This is who you are. You know, and I won't take revenge on you. I just want you to know this. Because if you realize that, you might change. Like that's why All Star Superman's so awesome. Yeah, I like Superman versus the Elite, but I don't think it's as good as All Star Superman. I think Grant Morrison did a that was also Grant Morrison, right? Like Superman versus the Elite. Yeah, let's see who wrote this. Based on no, it wasn't. Superman versus the Elite was not. Was not Grant Morrison. Well, that explains why it wasn't as good. Yeah, I love Superman. I mean, I don't need to see like a billion Superman movies. I just need like a couple, like one or two. I want to see Superman do some stuff. I want to see him do stuff again, and then he could just be in like you know freaking Justice League shit. I'm really ready to see like more versions where Superman and Batman get along. Where they're heroes together. Like they may come into conflict. Like they should come into conflict, but they don't like hate each other. They get into conflict where it's like two friends who have different opinions who both think that they're right. And that means sometimes Batman's going to be right and sometimes Superman's going to be right. And for neither of it's not going to be an ego thing for either of them. And it needs to go like it's very simple when cleverness when cleverness in a moral gray area is what's going to kind of win the day, that's Batman. When hope is what will win the day, that's when Superman's right. You know, another time that Batman needs to be right is Batman's really good when he understands the parent-child relationship. You know, whenever he understands that, when he understands that stuff, like, I think Batman's really cool. Hey, Bronson, how you doing? Have I thought about doing more movie reviews? I always think about doing more movie reviews, but like, I don't have a lot of time right now trying to get Babylon done. I know some people who can just do all of it. No, I can't. I can't. I wish I could. I really do. You know, I really do wish I could do all of it, but like, I can't. And also, I don't abuse amphetamines, so that's another drawback as far as doing everything is concerned. You could either just be one of those people who could just do everything, or like, you know, you need speed. I don't like abusing speed because I'm already on it medically. Yeah, Bat Family is supposed to be something good that happens to Batman, you know. I'm also like a big fan of like Superman having a family because I feel like he should, you know. You know, Superman should come off as a bit of a family man, you know. You know, I don't like it when like I don't tend to like it as much when Superman is single. I prefer it when, you know, he's with somebody, usually Lois Lane, but you could probably do a really cool story where Lois Lane and Superman get divorced, not because like not because they hate each other, but because like Lois, you know, they got the kids and it's just getting to be too much. It's just getting to be too much. So she's like, no, we got to get divorced. You know, we'll share, you know, we'll have joint custody of the kids. We won't like, we're not going to, you know, I don't want to take it to court. You know, we're not going to take it to court, but the kids need a place where they can kind of like get away from the other world that you live in. You know, and have part of the drama of Superman like be that. Like, yeah. You can't treat him like Spider-Man because like it can't be like Lois, if Lois like fucking divorces Superman, it's not because of anything he did or anything that she feels about herself as a result of being with Superman. It is literally no, it's too dangerous. You know, it's too dangerous. And then Superman can like Superman and Lois can deal with that. Their kids can deal with that. And in the future, maybe they get back together, you know, but something changes. Maybe the kids get older, or, you know, one of them dies or something like that. Or maybe one of them becomes a supervillain, you know. Or goes the Nightwing route and is still a hero, but is a little questionable. Like their methods are a little questionable. Like actually, that might be a good one. Like they remain a hero, but like they're a little bit more like a little bit more Nightwing, and so his methods are a bit more questionable. A little more like you know, like a Batman or a Green Lantern. You know. Mm. Yeah. Lois divorcing Superman have to be best for the family, or at least you'd have to be able to make a really good argument for it. You know, for it being the best for the family, even if you're like, this is a terrible idea. You have to be able to see it from the other perspective. That's how you'd have to write it. It'd be hard. It'd probably be very difficult, but it'd be probably be worth it. Did I ever get my car fixed? I did. I did. The car is fixed. You know, not at 100%, but the motherfucker will run. It'll get from point A to point B pretty easily. I've still got like uh, a crack in. I still have a leak in the heater core that I have to deal with, but I haven't wanted to deal with that because it's a big job. That is a big job, and I have neither the money nor the time to dedicate to fixing it, which blows. You know, can't lie, that blows, you know, because I would really like to fix it. There are also some other things I'd really like to fix about the car that, once again, that don't have to do with like how the car runs, but are like quality of life improvements. But those aren't like emergencies. Like I said, the car I can get from point A to point B without them, you know, but I really do want to fix the heater core thing because like it it's a slow poisoning. You know, I think I would like to get that fixed before I took it on a major road trip, you know, but it'll still be a few $100s, you know, possibly 1,000. If I do it myself, I can keep it down to a couple $100, but I don't have the couple $100 at the moment. Plus, I'm trying to finish the manuscript, and that's time. You know, also probably take me several days to fix it. You know, because I'm not the worst mechanic, but I'm not pro. You know, if I was a pro, I could probably do it in a day. You know, but I'll probably have to take that thing apart in order to know all the pieces that I need, and then I'd have to order them, and that'll take a few days and shit like that. And I could, but also it's the wet season, so I gotta wait till like spring in order to really do that, unless I send it to a shop. Bruce Kent. Uh, I don't know. Like that new Zack Snyder movie didn't seem very good. I was just sort of like, look, I understand everyone wants to do like a Star Wars kind of soap opera with a twist, but like, you got to be able to do shit, right? Oh, what would be the Superman Batman team up that I would do? Um, Let's see, like off the top of my head, it would. One thing I know is that it would be a story where Superman almost goes too far. Like he almost goes too far and Batman stops him. Like Batman's the one who calms gets Superman to take a chill pill. So I don't know what villain would be best for that. Like we've done Zod so many times. Brainiac wouldn't work either. Can't be like Apocalypse because he's too powerful. There's no like, why would you hold Superman back against Apocalypse? But it's got to be someone with superpowers because Batman. Otherwise, like, wouldn't Batman be able to handle him? Scarecrow. I don't know what Scarecrow could do that would send Superman over the edge. Like Joker could, but that's been done too many times. I'd want to give one of the other Batman villains a chance to shine. Or like one of the Superman villains. Metallo, the thing is, Metallo's too inhuman. Well, funny enough, Hobo Joe, I was considering Toyman, but I am not entirely sure, like, how Toyman would be a threat. Don't get me wrong, I like Toyman, but how do you make it so that you need both Superman and Batman to take him down? Oh, maybe Bane. But then again, like, couldn't like Superman just knock him out? Kryptonite Venom. Ooh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But what's the conflict? Like, what's the thing that brings them together? What brings Batman and Superman together that puts them at a disadvantage? Like both of them. That's difficult. That's why they usually have them fight each other. Thanks again, Bonson Wright. What's my favorite superhero movie? Oh, that's a hard one. My favorites, the ones I think are like the best. The what was it? The first X-Men movie. Actually, the first two X-Men movies I think are really good. Um, I think the 89 Batman is also up there. Uh, Probably the Batman with Robert Pattinson is also in there. I'm not as fond of the Nolan Batman ones. I think the first two are really good. I think the third one is not that great. I wouldn't say it was bad, but like the first two were like A plus. Like Batman Rises is like a B plus. Avengers is really good. I also think Iron Man's really good. Thor Ragnarok, I think, is really good. And of course, the three like Guardians of the Galaxy movies, those are also really good. Um, yeah, the first Superman's pretty good. The eight, the 78 one, the movie that kind of redefined Superman. Oh yeah, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 and 2. Yeah, that's why it's so hard. Like the first two Spider-Man movies are almost perfect. No Steel. Hey, Awaz. Oh, Blank Man. Oh God, not Meteor Man. Jesus Christ. Blank Man, you can make an argument for. Like fucking Meteor Man, no. That one's just bad. Oh, I remember Condor Man. Condor Man's got a lot of good things going for it, but like, favorite, nah. uh Who's my favorite Spider-Man? And who's my favorite villain? Ooh. What that I from the Spider-Man trilogy. Okay, yeah, that's pretty easy. If I could just remember everyone's name. Tobey Maguire, I think, was my favorite Spider-Man. And honestly, I think Green Goblin was the best. Although Doc Ock, like fucking dude's Doc Ock was amazing. But I think I like Green Goblin a little more because Willem Dafoe is just so gleefully evil in that movie. Oh, that's right. There's Blade. I don't know. I don't know if Blade is as good a movie as the first first two Raimi Spider-Mans. It's definitely better than the third one, but like oh, Puma Man don't count, man. Come on. Just because it was a great MST3K episode doesn't mean it was a good movie. Yeah, Captain Incredible, once again, a lot of good things going for it, but I don't know if I would call it my favorite. I love all the Christopher Lee bits. Stop thundering about. Is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a superhero movie? I guess it kind of is. Nah, I don't. Actually, nah, I don't really think so. Affleck's Daredevil. Oh God, man, that was mid from the get go. Would the Crow count? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the Crow counts. Yeah, I would agree. The Roger Corman Fantastic Four at least felt like a Fantastic Four movie. That's how I go about describing the Corman Fantastic Four. Like, oh, do you think it's good? Not well. I mean, it's not the best made movie by far. It has a huge number of flaws that are glaring and hard to ignore, but it does feel like a Fantastic Four story. For good and ill. Whoever wrote it nailed it. The cinematic masterpiece that is Catwoman. Catwoman should have been a much better movie. Should have been a much better movie. But my problem was I don't know that we needed another origin story. Like, couldn't she have just been Catwoman? Oh yeah, the Generation X made for TV movie. That was another Corman joint, I believe. Um yeah, that was one of those. Whoever wrote it obviously read and kind of liked Generation X, but the movie sucks. Like, there was someone who wrote that thing who knew what they were doing. But yeah. Howard the Duck. Yeah. Fuck yeah, Howard the Duck. Like, that's one that I really like, but I'm like, it's not the best. It's not the best. I just really like it. Mystery Men was really good. Mystery Men's good. I don't know if I guess that counts as a superhero movie. The Hasselhoff Nick Fury. Once again, that's another that's another one where it's like somebody it's just not that great. It's just not that great. And David Hasselhoff is not. David Hasselhoff is didn't nail it. Didn't nail it. Not like Sam Jackson did. Like, Sam Jackson owned that role. Even though he was a take on a very particular version of Nick Fury. But he owned it because they based that version on him, and he's a great actor. Hasselhoff is not nearly the actor that Samuel Jackson is. Ja, du Hasselfrau. Don't get me wrong. Like, Hasselhoff's entertaining is all get out. I don't know how much of this I can play, but we'll see what we can do here. Yeah, David Hasselhoff's a guy I like seeing, but he's not a great actor. Oh my God, the Witchblade TV show. Good God. Like, that was one where I'm like, look, man, half, a full 50%, if not more, I'd say closer to 75 of Witchblade is just sex appeal. It's just the fact that her costume is sexy. Because I don't know anything else about her. I've read some of the comics. I know nothing about her. Like, I know more about Spawn, and there's not much to that guy.
Getting down and dirty with a Procyon loader. Got no people skills, but he's good with motors. That weird thing by his side, an infantilized sequoia. The two of them walk by, people say, oh boy. They ask me why I'm bringing a baby into battle. That's really irresponsible and getting them rattled. I say, give me a break. Get off of my back, damn it. I didn't learn parenting. My daddy was a planet.
Okay, I'll say this for, okay, barbed wire. Barbed wire, the big thing that works about barbed wire, and once again, I'm not saying it's a great movie, is that the movie does not forget what it is. It knows what it is. And once again, the Pamela Anderson, not a great actor. But that was a role she could do, you know? Like, that was a role she could do, you know? Tank Girl, on the other hand, is a much better film. And I actually like Tank Girl. It's a huge departure from the comic. There's a girl who has a tank. They have similar haircuts. That's about what they have in common with each other. You know, because the original Tank Girl comic was not post-apocalyptic. It's just about a girl in a tank. And there were kangaroo people and all kinds of weirdos. It was, I don't know how to say it. It was just this really bizarre, irreverent comic. Kind of like, no, not Cerebus the Aardvark, but, was another, like the actual comic version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the original run. It was that kind of bizarre and irreverent. So you're kind of like, what kind of world is this? You know, because when you actually get out of the, you know, initial stuff that everyone knows about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, those comics are weird. Those comics get really fucking weird, and Tank Girl was kind of made with the same sensibility. Oh, yeah, the big thing that worked about barbed wire is attached to Pamela Anderson's shed. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You know, like, I remember the Max. Max is awesome. Yeah, the original TMNT comic is really good. Yeah, but Tank Girl was kind of like that, was kind of like TMNT or the Tick, you know. So I understand why they decided to make a setting out of it so that they could tell a cohesive story, because most of the Tank Girl comics are not coherent. It's just insanity. I did like the fact that there was a song and dance number in the middle of it. Yeah. Like The Mask. like The Mask, the comic is yeah, the comic of the Mask is way different than the movie. Way different. I'm like, if you wanted to do an adaptation of the comic Mask and do that plot, you would have to animate it. And you would have to animate it like it would have to look 2D. It would have to be 2D, and you'd have to take a lot of inspiration from Tex Avery. Which the movie did. It did take inspiration from Tex Avery. But it kept the cartoon tone, whereas in the original the Mask comic, it's a lot more gory and disgusting. It's a lot more violent. Because it really is talking about like how violent cartoons are. If you put a cartoon character in the real world, he'd be deadly. Yeah, The Mask was a dark horror comedy. Yeah, it totally was. Like what's it? Stanley Ipkiss gets killed at the end of that story. Yeah, the Mask is like an R-rated Looney Tune. R for violence. Well, Stanley, it's he's the protagonist. He's still the protagonist, but like you're watching a man's like descent. It's a lot more like the Joker movie. The movie The Joker. Where it starts out you're kind of on his side, but at the end of it you're just sort of like, "Whoa, dude." Like he's starting to go way too far. So it's like it's not like he's the bad guy. Um but it is about a descent about a moral and mental descent into like darkness. Like one of the things that happens during the climax is that he kind of realizes that he's killing people and how like cruel he's being about it. Or rather, actually, what happens is Stanley Ipkiss gets killed, and then the detective gets the mask, and that guy realizes once he starts doing the stuff that once he starts getting taken over by the mask, he realizes what he's doing. And the last part of the first story is the detective fucking burying the mask under his house on top of like underneath like a ton of concrete. Um, so that he can't have easy access to it. It's too powerful. The second story, the detective gets killed. He gets killed by the mob guys he cheesed off in the first story. And then they go after what's her face, the character that was played by not Celine Dion. Let's see. Cameron Diaz. The character played by Cameron Diaz, she gets it. And then it's her revenge on them against the mob. Like that's what it. The funny thing is that story is actually a bit more lighthearted. Like it's still extremely violent, but it's a bit more how to put it. It's a bit more like, yeah, yeah, girl, get some kind of tale. Yeah, yeah, and there's a character in the fucking original comics who's just this beast. He's this monster. Like and he almost never talks. Funny enough, they put that. Funny enough, when they did the Saturday morning cartoon, they did put Walter in that. But like in the comic, he's just like this brute that like crushes people's heads with his bare hands. Oh, what the mask getting softened in adaptation is kind of addressed in the Mask animated series with the Mad Monkey episode. Oh, interesting. See, I only seen like a few episodes of the cartoon. I've seen like 4 or 5 episodes because it didn't last long, and I was kind of aging out of Saturday morning cartoons by the time that happened. Yes, Miss Dimple. Oh yeah, 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 exactly. He's that kind of guy. In that episode, the mask is mad because his favorite movie series is getting a musical and he thinks they're making him too silly. Yeah, Tim Curry played the villain in the Mask animated series. You were about 18 when the show came out? Yeah, just about. I was aging out of Saturday morning cartoons at that point. Oh, Ace Ventura showed up in the Mask fucking show. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That must have been really fun. If you want to see Jim Carrey like do the kind of insane mask stuff in a more modern movie, those two Sonic movies, like where he's playing Robotnik, just going crazy. Yeah, a lot of 90s cartoons were really weird. It was one of the reasons I like some of them. I like so many of them. Freakazoid was ahead of its time. Freakazoid was way ahead of its time. Um, like if they had done that same show like 5 years later, I think it would have been a hit. Yeah, 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 yeah. He doesn't like doing sequels, but he loved playing Robotnik. You know, I well also like he's not the star of those movies, but he is because he's the heavy. You know, like which means he still has like a huge amount of screen time, but like I think not having to be the hero and getting to take like kind of a back seat to the production makes it easier because the heavy doesn't usually get all the media attention. They get a lot, they get some, but it's not like this never ending blitz. Like there's a reason like leading men burn out. Like, for instance, like there was that period where everyone was sick of Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was sick of Brad Pitt. You know, like he was sick of doing it. You know, that's why he does these character roles now, even if he is the main character. Like, for example, like Bullet Train. Like, he's the main character of Bullet Train, but he's not playing a leading man. You know, neither does Ryan Reynolds anymore. Like, well, Ryan Reynolds is still kind of a leading man. He's a comedic one, though. And I think that might make a bit of a difference. Maybe that makes a bit of a difference. You know, because I don't think Ryan Reynolds is tired of being Ryan Reynolds. But Jim Carrey got a little bit tired of being Jim Carrey. That's why he, like, switched his focus up. And Brad Pitt was just caught in that grind. And while I don't know if he would trade it for the world, you know, it's still, it grates on you. Like, it grates on you because everyone is so fucking focused on making sure that you project a certain image. When you're a character actor, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as much. Not nearly as much, because people are just glad to see you. Like, Bullet Train seems like a movie that Brad Pitt just showed up and did. He got to just show up and do the work, you know? Because because it was a Netflix movie, there wasn't a big, like, media lead up. It didn't need to be. You didn't need to get people to fucking leave their houses and buy a ticket. They'd turn on Netflix. Yeah, Brad Pitt was great in Bullet Train. So, and I think that those are the kind of roles he really likes. Same thing with Nick Cage. Like, that's one thing we have to thank Johnny Depp for. Johnny Depp getting Nick Cage out of Hawk. Because that's when Nick Cage was like, you know what, I don't have to just take whatever movie. Because I think the two Ghost Rider movies had really soured him. Because he really wanted to play Ghost Rider, but neither of those was the Ghost Rider movie he signed on to do. I think you're right with Brad Pitt. Inglourious Basterds was the turning point. It was the turning point where he was just like, wait, I could just do stuff like this? This is great. Also, because it's a Tarantino movie, like, he didn't have to be there all the time because he's not in every scene. He's like one of the central characters, but he doesn't have to. He didn't have to carry the whole movie.
Fuck you.
And then there's, of course,
your Jew dogs.
This great scene.
Actually, we're all tickled to hear you say that. Quite frankly, watching Donnie beat Nazis to death is as close as we ever get to going to the movies. Donnie!
Yeah.
Got some German here wants to die for country. Oblige him.
And of course, we got this. I'm so glad Tarantino just decided to go with the Morricone music here. Oh, whoops.
Jews.
Bravery.
Now I'd be shitting my pants if I was you.
Teddy fucking Williams knocks it out of the park. Fenway Park on his feet for Teddy. Fucking ball game. He went yard on that one onto fucking Lansdowne Street. Yeah.
You! God damn it, Hirschberg.
Damn it, Hirschberg.
Oh yeah, Christoph Waltz in that movie is great. Yeah, he's such an asshole in Inglourious Bastards, and then you get to Django Unchained, and he's so good. I could see why the Bear Jew was originally. You could tell it was originally supposed to be an not Adam Sandberg. Adam Sandler. It was written for Adam Sandler, like because you could totally see him do that, and you could tell that Eli Roth is kind of doing his best Adam Sandler impression, you know. Yeah, Adam Sandler. It was written for Adam Sandler, but Adam Sandler didn't want to. He didn't want to do it, and so gave it to Eli Roth. And Eli Roth's like, "Fuck yes, I'll be in a Tarantino movie. Fuck yeah." Yeah, would he do the little Nicky voice? I hope not. Like that would have been terrible. That was like, no. Just do the Adam Sandler voice. Just do Adam Sandler. I know. I was surprised he didn't do it either. You know, you would have thought that you'd have been like, "Fuck yeah, I'll be in a Tarantino film. What are you talking about? Wait, what's my thing? The Bear Jew? I kill Nazis with a baseball bat? Hell yes." Well, yeah, it's not like Adam Sandler's he doesn't have to be a bad actor. You know, like he's got the talent. You know, I'm just still not fond of his comedy. You know, I got so much of that in the 90s and early 2000s. It's like, I don't need this anymore. Yeah, I'm going to give you something that you just can't take off. Donnie, I do believe I made my masterpiece. Yeah, also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like the World War II movie that the guy makes in the middle of it is supposed to be the movie version of Inglourious Bastards in that universe. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, also a great movie, you know. What was my least favorite Adam Sandler? Probably Little Nicky. Yeah, it's the one that kind of looks like The Great Escape in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, but wait, when was The Great Escape? When was that made? Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it was their version of The Great Escape was actually like the that universe's version of Inglorious Bastards. Oh, I didn't know he wrote a novel that had a novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood written. Thank you for the donation again, Bronson White Wolf. Right Wolf. You're one of the greatest movie themes of all time right here. Dun, 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 da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. You know, you get it. Yeah, The Great Escape. Yeah, it's you know, the movie that defines the escape film, you know. You know, it's kind of interesting. Like The Great Escape defines the escape film. And the heist movie. You know, you just a lot in many ways, like a lot of heist movies are just The Great Escape flipped. You know, instead of breaking out, they're trying to break in. You know, Steve McQueen. It's got the Steve McQueen, the James Garner, the Richard Attenborough in it. You know, really good movie. It's super good. Oh, I forgot Charles Bronson is also in it. Yeah. Oh, of course, James Corbin. Oh, Donald Pleasance. Holy shit. I forgot so many people were in this damn thing. Man. Yeah, a lot of greats in that one. Donald Pleasance actually been a POW camp. Oh, I didn't know that about Donald Pleasance. I mean, it makes sense. Like, a lot of those actors from that era were in World War II. Christopher Lee was another one. He was another guy who was in World War II. Yeah, he was a I forget what it's actually called, but he was he was a field intelligence officer. Christopher Lee. He was one of those guys that, like, you know how they would send paratroopers behind enemy lines, and a lot of them got shot down while they were landing. Yeah, Christopher Lee was one of those guys, but he didn't get shot down. He's got like Christopher Lee for real killed Nazis. Like, he for real did it. Like, he was known because, but weird for a guy that was as tall as he was, but like in a couple of fights, like he would just stab Nazis to death. Like, he did that a few times. Yeah. Like, yeah, he actually did do some yeah, Christopher Lee actually did some straight up James Bond shit. You know, he wasn't wearing a suit or nothing, but like he was one of the guys who would like find out where, for example, like the artillery was hidden, and then go in with other guys and just shank, like just take over the base. I don't think he was a POW. I don't think he ever got caught. I don't think he was ever arrested by the Germans and the Nazis, but like, he saw a lot of he saw combat. He killed people, Yeah, that telling Peter Jackson how a guy getting stabbed in the back actually fucking sounds what actually happens. To Peter Jackson going, how do you know this? He's like, well, I was in World War II. Yeah, and it turns out he had both seen it and done it. Like, Joe, damn. Yeah, like almost real life Castle Wolfenstein shit. Yeah. No, Christopher Lee is a legend. It's one of the things that makes him such a legend, because you're just like, good God. I wonder, like, Christopher Lee's one of those guys where, like, I always wanted to know what his trauma was like, because like he never showed it on the outside, right? It wasn't like right on the surface. It was buried a bit deeper. So I'm like, I wonder how that manifested, because clearly he didn't have a problem being in public. Clearly, he could still relate to people. But it has to manifest somehow, because I don't think he was a psychopath. He definitely wasn't a narcissist. My grandfather enjoyed The Great Escape. He was also a POW. Oh, damn. Yeah, it's actually a lot more common than people realize. It was why I was so fucking mad when, like, Trump would diss, like, fucking what's his name? Fuck. I forget who it was that he went up against. Barack Obama first went up against. It wasn't Mitt Romney. It was fuck. John McCain. Thank you, John McCain. Brain fart. But yeah. When Trump made fun of John McCain for getting captured as a POW, I'm like, you mean the POW who famously did not turn over state secrets under torture? You're going to call that guy a loser? Fuck you. That means you don't know what strength is. You know, I didn't want John McCain to be president, but I was never going to, how do I put it, man? I didn't want John McCain to be president, but I wasn't going to take away what he had actually done. Yeah, Draft Dodger making fun of a POW. Oh, come on, man. You know, fuck you. Fuck you, because, like, I didn't like McCain's policies. That's why I didn't vote for him. But I never thought once John McCain was going to betray America. I didn't think he was going to Nixon it. You know, I wouldn't have liked him as president, but, like, I don't think I would have been upset. It wouldn't have been hard for me to call him the president. You know, I'd have been like, okay, yeah, President McCain, fuck. You know, but he still would have been President McCain. I'm like, Trump, I don't like calling him the president at all. You know, I'm like, no, he's some idiot who stumbled into the job. President in title only, pedo. You know, president in title only. You know, I wouldn't have taken that away from fucking McCain. Oh, yeah, Palin tanked him. Like, I don't know if he would have won in the first place, but Palin made it certain. Palin was a terrible choice. He should have gone for he should have gone for someone else. But they wanted a woman to get the woman vote, and she was the only one available. She's an idiot. I could see Russia from my house, Palin. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, your mom can't call him president. Yeah, I can't do that either. There are plenty of guys I would, and there are plenty of guys I would not have voted for that I would have still called the president. You know, John McCain being one of them. Hell, as bad as he was, George W. Bush was still the president in my mind. Like, George W. Bush was the kind of bad I could wait to vote out of office. You know, I wanted him gone. I wanted him out. It was ridiculous. But then the Republican Party said, hold my beer. And it was just like, Trump, really? And you could see why a lot of people couldn't believe it, because they couldn't believe that enough of America was that stupid. We couldn't believe that there were enough people that were that stupid and that petty and that vengeful that they would vote for Donald Trump. And then it turned out, yeah, there were. Yeah, there were. I couldn't even get behind voting for Donald Trump as a joke. I'm like, no. No, I know what he will do to the country. He will ruin it. He will wreck it. He will wreck it for an entire generation. And he did. He did. He did. In 4 years, he destroyed it for an entire generation. You know, he ruined America. He just ruined it. It's a miracle we held on as well as we did. The whole LDS thing is what sunk Romney. No, I think what sunk Romney was the fact that he was going up against whether or not I agree with his principles. Romney does come across as a man of principle, which is good. Very rare in the Republican Party. Very rare. I don't think he realized how rare that was. He was like a Jimmy Carter, but Republican. You know, and I think for that reason he would have also been a bad president, because like Jimmy Carter was a terrible president. He was really not good. He didn't understand what he was getting into, and he had no idea how to fix anything. You know, but I don't think he's an evil man. I don't think Romney is an evil man, but I don't like where he comes from. You know, Romney wasn't the worst. I definitely didn't want him as president. I did not need a man that religious as president. I just didn't. Yeah. Oh, that's what you meant by LDS, Latter-day Saint. Yeah, I think it did. I think it did. I think it didn't help. It didn't help because he was going up against Barack Obama. That man was energy and charisma. Energy, charisma, and intelligence. Triple threat. The triple threat as far as like presidency is concerned. You know, the problem with Hillary is she didn't have the charisma. And she wasn't very principled. You know, she's more principled than Donald Trump, which is why I voted for her. It's like, I don't like Hillary, but like, put her against Donald Trump is not even a question. You know, but really the thing that sunk Hillary was sexism. That was the nail. That was the thing that actually put the nails in the coffin. You know, it wasn't people who didn't want a woman, who thought that a woman should stay in the house. It was the people who were comfortable with it. There's a lot more of those. A lot more of people who were uncomfortable with a female president at the time. Probably still. I would guess that there probably still are. And she didn't have a principled record to stand on, and she wasn't that charismatic. Like, it was too easy to see Hillary Clinton as like a bossy mom or older sister or a manager you hated. Oh, excuse me. Whereas Barack Obama projected the type of strength that liberals respond to. Once he entered the race, in hindsight, once he entered the race, it was a dead cert. At the time, it wasn't. But, like, looking back on it, it's like, oh, yeah, there's no way he was going to lose. Bernie is an amazingly principled man. Bernie's problem, if you can call it a problem, but it's why him being president is not in the cards, particularly anymore. He don't play a lot of political games. He don't play a lot of political games. He is charismatic, intelligent, very principled. But everything about him projects he's not going to fuck around. And it's not necessarily, he also doesn't mince words. And that's great for a certain type of voter. That's perfect. But I don't know if in the politics of today, I don't think he would get very far. Like back in the day when he was like running for president and shit, like, oh yeah, he got real far. He got farther than was reasonable for a candidate of his type. Like, he was, in my mind, a harbinger of what had changed in America. And it was only a matter of whether we could get it over that tipping point, whether or not he got elected as president. But that energy, that drive, that principled nature, and dedication to socialist ideals. You know, don't get me wrong, he's not like, he's as left as you get in American politics, and he's not a communist. You know, he's not really a leftist, but he represents as left as America wants to go. You know, which is still safely capitalist. It's still very safely capitalist. You know, so he did really well. Like, I'm not going to take that away from him. He, as like, even when he was a third party candidate, he got farther than any third party candidate ever. Definitely within my lifetime. Like, by a country mile. And when he joined the Democratic Party, he got even farther. You know, but things being what they are, now that we know what drives the Trump voter, because we've been talking about it for the last 6 years, yeah, I don't think he's ever likely to be elected as president. He has my vote. But like I said, my vote for the guy I want comes in the primary. Once it gets down to that general election, I'm just voting for whoever is most left. Because those are my choices. Those are my choices. Too much of the rest of America has said no to things that I want. But a vote is not the same as a blanket endorsement. It's not all or nothing. Conservatives want you to think that it's all or nothing. Very rigid thinkers want you to think it's all or nothing, but it isn't. It's not all or nothing. It's how far you can go. It's how much you get of what you want. And sometimes that means the status quo, because the change that the other side is offering is absolutely not something you want. Absolutely not something you want. Yeah, they'll never understand that communism and socialism are different things. They're not going to. Even if it comes and benefits them, they won't understand it. Because they don't. They never did. Back when they had the things that people are asking for, they're still anti-communist. They didn't understand how socialism worked then. They didn't understand that, like, they were getting socialism, but it was in the form of company benefits. Why? Because the unions were so strong. They had to attract people to come back, to come to work. So they were offering benefits as a cost of doing business because they had to. Jimmy Hoffa was killed for a reason. You know, whether or not you like Jimmy Hoffa, like, he was the face of American unions. And he was a political beast of a different type of politics. Man was a beast. You know, nobody wanted to go up against Jimmy Hoffa. He's that powerful. You know, he didn't need to be elected into Congress or anything like that. Nah. He was the face of the American Union. The union elected him. The union elected him. He was a labor hero. And yeah, did he have a lot to do with organized crime? Fucking of course he did. Fucking of course he did. So why did they keep electing him? Because he got them what they wanted. He promised. He got them what they wanted. Because that's how he knew you consolidated power. Real power. Not an elected office. Real power. Just have the workers behind you. Damn. Like, it's one of those, was he an ethical man? No. But he delivered what he promised. He delivered what he promised, and sometimes that's what you need. Let's see, I'm from Scranton. The Buffaloni mob family. Oh, man. Yeah, I knew people who were part of the Fortunato crime family. You know, extended. We're talking like second, third cousins. But like they knew that like Uncle Tony was a member of the mob. Yeah, one friend had a second uncle. His name was Michael G. Fortunato. His middle name was literally Guido. Michael Guido Fortunato, mid-level mob boss. Not the kind of guy who makes headlines. Not the kind of guy who makes headlines, but definitely the kind of people who has like situations taken care of. You know, and she got shot in the head by her boyfriend, and she survived. She could never walk right after that. And like, she's like paralyzed in like certain parts of her body. But when she was recovering, like Uncle Michael, you know, Uncle Mickey, like comes to her and is like, do you want him taken care of permanently? All you have to do is ask, because you're family. And she's like, no, I think that's going too far. He's like, all right, you want me to make sure he never walks again? No, because I don't believe in doing that. I would, however, just like him to leave me alone. And he's like, okay, we could do that. But if you change your mind on either of the others, you let me know. Don't worry. It'll be your family, so it's not like you won't owe me anything. And I'm like, if not for the good nature of this woman, you fucko. Done. You'd be off the board permanently. And he did never bother her again. So she probably took the best option. I think she took the best option there by saying, no, I just want him to leave me alone. I never want to have to see him again. You know, but don't kill him and don't make his legs bend the wrong way. You know? It's like, damn. Holy shit. And before you ask, yes, she was Italian. Of course she was. Yeah. But that's actually one of the things I think is so fascinating. I think it's an important thing to realize that if people cannot improve their lives, improve their economic situation legally, they'll use other means. They'll do it other ways. Oh yeah. Yeah. When the mob was in power, they you know, I don't know how else to put it, but yeah. You know, now that a lot of things are now that the mafia has kind of like fallen, you know, now we have like the Russian mob, which is a different beast. It's a very different beast, you know, because most of them work for Russian oligarchs. That's the money they bow to. You know, whereas the American mafia, like they bowed to like they bowed to people in Italy, but there were plenty. But like Italy wasn't like a foreign enemy, you know what I mean? Like Italy and Sicily were not foreign enemies. You know, now a lot of things are corporate are corporate run, but Russian oligarch financed. There's a lot of that. There is a lot of that because that exists even in the video game industry. The only difference between like Atomic Hearts and a lot of other games you've played is that it was discovered. for real. Ironically, now that the Asian countries are getting involved in the video game industry on a financial level, it's a lot. The video game industry is going to get a lot more honest. It'll still have the sexism and SA problems, but as far as the financing is concerned, like they're not going to be taking as much Russian money. No, it's all going to be China. It's all going to be from China and South Korea. Well, and Singapore. You know, Singapore's a big one. Well, South American, Central American cartel is very, that's also a different beast. You know, because they specialize in terror. They specialize in terror tactics to protect their shit. Like they behead people and hang them up in the middle of the street. Like they are very focused on terror tactics. The funny thing is that a lot of the stuff that they deal in now is legal. A lot of the stuff the Central and South American cartels deal with is legal. Avocados, for example. Most avocados are cartel. Period. Some of the ones in California, grown in California, aren't, but that's not where most avocados come from. Yeah, that bus full of protesters that disappeared. Yeah, they went somewhere they shouldn't have. Holy shit. You know, it's because they have that, like, it's because they have the drug trade baked into their origins. The cartels have the drug trade baked into their origins, and that illegal drugs was so cutthroat because of the war on drugs that it's just part of the way they do things. Because those tactics are not just intended to keep a populace frightened. Don't get me wrong. That's one of the reasons they do it. But it's really about frightening the other cartels. And they're all super cutthroat. So even when they deal in goods that are internationally legal or legal to sell in America, they're still really violent because they're competing with the other cartels, and they have a warlord mentality. You know, it's the old like, you know, like it's the old Aztec stuff, you know, coming to the surface. Just like with the triad and the tong, it's like it's the old Chinese stuff coming to the surface, you know. All the different mobs have their own flavor, their own tactics, and their own way of doing things. You know, it's like the Yakuza. The Yakuza are, the thing that's interesting about the Yakuza is it's treated more like a career, which I always thought was strange. Like the Yakuza's like advancement pyramid is actually quite rigid. You know, you do this, you get to be that, like kind of stuff, until you get to like the higher levels, then it's all favoritism. But at the lower levels, there's actually like a ladder to climb. There's actually a ladder to climb with specific benefits and shit, which I always thought was hilarious. You know, it's much more like a corporation that does things illegally. And that's a really, really weird distinction to make. But it's the way they like to do things. And the other thing that's interesting about the Yakuza is they really set their sights. They set their sights a bit higher. They have all the street level stuff, right? But the real goal is to influence businesses. So while there's still protection money and all that, but the protection racket and all that shit, particularly in the late 90s, their whole goal was to take over boardrooms. Like, they would come into boardrooms with, like, samurai swords and shit and threaten everybody. Yeah, there's a lot of white-collar crime. Well, there's a lot of white-collar crime in all of the underground organizations, but the Yakuza did kind of take it up a notch. They totally kicked it up a notch in the 90s. The funny thing is, in America, they're not as much of an issue anymore. Like, they're not as much of an issue as in Japan, even. You know, they're still around. You know, like, there's still more around than the mafia is around in America. You know, but there are other ethnic mobs that are, like, kind of picking up the slack, like the Chinese. Like, Chinese mobs are kicking up the slack, and there's some South Korean ones as well. The irony being that the South Korean mobs, the irony being that the Yakuza is also a South Korean mob. It's just centered in Japan. The reason they're so big on looking Japanese and doing traditional Japanese shit is because they were foreigners. And they did a PR campaign. They funded movies. Anytime you see, like, a black and white movie that has the Yakuza as the heroes being more Japanese than the other Japanese people, that was because it was Yakuza funded. You know, the 869s, that's where the money came from. Yeah, the Japanese government came hard for the Yakuza, partially because they were illegal, but also because they were Koreans. They were a Korean-run organization. Now, they were Japanese Koreans. They were Koreans who lived in Japan. You know, so in that sense, they were Japanese. You know, Japanese by nation, not always by blood, if you know what I mean. And the Japanese are big on that. They're big on that distinction. That's where their conservatism is. Like, who gets to call themselves Japanese? That's part of their deal. Yeah, that's why you're always starting a business in the Yakuza games. Yeah, exactly. Because that's how they that's how they operate it. You know, you got the bootleg market, which is like the lowest level. You know, bootlegs is like that's the low level. You know, selling bootleg music, videos, shit like that. I don't know what that market is like in Japan these days. Probably not good. You know, but there's still some shit to be done. It's just probably more in physical goods. You know, off-brand merchandise, you know, Gucci with one C, you know what I mean? And to, like, offload pirated merchandise as well. Because that's still a big thing. Who do you think the Filipino pirates sell their shit to? You know? They sell it to the Yakuza. They sell it to the fucking triads. They, you know, all those guys have a presence in the China Sea. Was it because they became too publicly violent? Well, I don't know about that. There was a crackdown for sure. Like that crackdown was so fucking sudden that it affected it affected the underworld all in the China Sea. Like it affected Taiwan's underworld. But like the big thing that the Yakuza ran in Taiwan were video arcades. It was all like it was all video based shit. Like they ran arcades, and they also ran a bunch of these businesses that were like rent a booth, watch a movie, do whatever you want to do inside with no one watching. Like I've been to a few of those. Obviously the idea is you go with like, whoever you want to bone or do drugs with, and then you do that while the movie's running. Where no one's watching. The Love Hotels, a lot of those are Yakuza run. I don't know. I don't know if there was a specific name for like the Taiwanese mob, like the local boys. That I don't know about. I do know that they didn't get international. Like they were never quite powerful enough to become international. Yeah, that's why they were in bed with Sega. Oh yeah, Nintendo ran all kinds of things. Yeah, they ran all kinds of things. They did everything for a while. It wasn't until like it wasn't until the success of I think the Game Boy that they were like, okay. They were always all in on electronic games, but they had a lot of other things that they had their fingers in, but eventually electronic games became their whole thing. Because they were always into gaming, right? So they would make like gambling machines and shit. And that's how they had their fingers in some of those other pies. Nintendo's mob ties were not as strong as Sega's. Sega had way more. Am I talking about the bamboo? See, I don't know. For Taiwan? Yeah, see, I don't know. Like, this is the first time I've seen those words. Because most of what I know about the Taiwan underworld is stuff that I personally experienced. And I didn't really I don't speak the language very well. So what I caught was like my closest exposure to the underworld in Taiwan is playing cards as a kid with 4 guys at a convenience store that I am pretty sure were gangsters when I look back on it. Because looking the way I did in Taiwan, I think they assumed I was just one of the guys that worked for them. And they fucking spoke enough English that I knew what card game they were playing. Or they could explain the rules of the card game they were playing. Because it wasn't poker. Oh, the Tetris movie. Holy shit. Holy shit. All real, by the way. That's all based on real shit that happened. Like, that is a straight up biopic about the release of Tetris. You know, the CIA and the KGB were absolutely fucking involved. They were absolutely chased. They were absolutely shot at. They were absolutely terrorized. You know, there was like, we got to get into the plane before the KGB kills us. Like, that really happened. That all really happened. It's, oh, thank you, Epiphany's Realm, for the £5. Yeah. The 4C gang was one of the leading go-betweens for drug trafficking. Yeah, maybe. It could have been, yeah. Yeah, pure insanity yet real. Like, I always thought that they needed to make a movie or a fucking, what I thought that they should do is that they should make a chess-like musical, but it's about Tetris. Because I really like the musical chess. Yeah, Tetris' story is way wilder than you realize. Because it sounds like people are making it up. Like, there was another one. There was another event that was very close to that, but it didn't get as crazy. Called Operation Sun Devil. Was it Sun Devil or was it was either Operation Sundial or Sun Devil, where a bunch of TTRPG companies got raided by the Secret Service because they thought that they were selling state secrets. The biggest company that was affected was Steve Jackson Games. And their evidence was that the manuscript for GURPS Cyberpunk had been released. And some of the people who worked on GURPS Cyberpunk used to work for the NSA. Which, of course, you know, a lot of computer experts in Texas and Washington, D.C. had worked for the NSA. They were the largest employer of computer experts and mathematicians in the country at the time. Operation Sun Devil, yeah. Yeah, and they raided the Steve Jackson Games, and their internet and the internet service they provided was, I think, Illuminati.net. Which was not just like a website. It was a straight up like internet service ISP, an internet service provider. Very early one. Like, we're talking like, this is in the days of like Genie and Prodigy. You know, they came in guns ready and just stole all of the Steve Jackson Games computers. And they had to sue to get them back. To get all that information back, because they had also raided all of their colos, you know, all their offline storage facilities, data facilities, because at the time this is before cloud computing. So you could do that, you know, you could just like, you know, get all the hard drives and take all the data. You can't do that anymore. One of the reasons cloud computing exists specifically is to foil that. Yeah, they did leak secrets on Minecraft. Minecraft did leak government secrets. You know, but they didn't but it wasn't like the dude who made it or the company that made it. You know, this was back in the day where if they fucking found something questionable on your platform, you went down. Like, they can't do that anymore. They're not allowed. Not only are they not allowed to, it's impractical. But yeah, Steve Jackson sued the Secret Service and won. Fight Club with destroying the credit card readers wouldn't work anymore. No, not even a little. Not even a little. You couldn't destroy all that data at once. You would need a really powerful virus program. One that doesn't exist. One of a type of sophistication that simply does not exist right now. And theoretically cannot exist. Yep. It was the World of Tanks thing. There was also the oh god, there was a really infamous one. This is the Discord one. That was super infamous because there was so much of it. Like, the Discord one was a problem because it was clear there was a mole. Like, there was someone who worked in the Defense Department that was leaking that shit. And then it turned out it was like the son of a guy who worked for the thing, and he just like found a way to steal his dad's files. And then he shared them in order to get bragging rights. It was like, the fuck, man. Yeah, you would have to do what Bart Moss did to the old net in Cyberpunk. Like, you would have to be on that scale. Yeah, so, like, all this goes to prove why you can't do stuff like that. Why you can't do stuff like they did in the 90s about this stuff. It's too common. It's too common, and there are too many security holes. You know, and I don't know how you're going to handle the security holes because the vast majority of these security holes are people. You know, they're not problems with the system. They're not problems with programs. They're not problems with protocol. They're problems of people. Social engineering. Which, if you talk to a social engineering expert, what they'll tell you is it pretty much works 100% of the time. EA's suspicious behavior when it comes to kids scamming themselves. Oh, yeah. No, that's it. No, hit the nail on the head. The kids are scamming themselves. EA doesn't have to lift a finger. They could just sit back and count the jack that's rolling in. Because EA's big thing right now is mobile gambling. That's what they do now. Occasionally they still come out with they come out Madden and shit, but like, that's not their real business. Their real business is online gambling. No, Cyberpunk wasn't wrong. We, the Cyberpunk fans, overestimated how good security people are. Because when it comes to the net, there are ways in, always. There are always ways in. There are always ways in. No exceptions. The real question is, can you get away with it? Can you not get caught? That's the question. Can you do this and not get caught? Because you can definitely get in. But what are they going to throw at you if they figure out who you are? That's the risk. That's the real risk. And that's usually enough to dissuade a lot of people. You know, not the more determined, but like normal people. Like hell, it was enough to get me. It was enough to get me to stop. You know, and the statute of limitations on the stuff I'd done is way over. You know, because that was all stuff I did when I was a teenager. You know, I've been out of that game for so fucking long at this point. Like, I know a few names, but like, that's it. I have to like, in order to get any real information, I have to talk to people who know. I have to talk to some people who know people. You know, I don't just have it. And even then, what I'm usually asking about is reputation and technical expertise. Technical expertise from a defense standpoint. From a knowledge standpoint, not an infiltration standpoint. Like, I've come too close. Like, I came too close when I was a teenager going like, all right, their ability to handle this shit is just going to get better. And I don't think I want to, like, live my life with that much stress. Because most of the stuff that I did was stuff that you could get away with. Because they hadn't thought of it. You know? Let's see. Praise God. Well, hail Satan. In a closed society where everyone's guilty, the only crime is getting caught. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, we're all guilty of something. We're all guilty of something. It's just a matter of whether or not they'll lock you up for it. And that's really, 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 really upsetting. It's really upsetting. You know, because you want to believe that if you play by the rules, nothing will happen to you. You know, and now we realize that America's on this path where that's not the case. That's the losing of freedom. That's where freedom gets lost. Because if everyone's suspected, then freedom is limited. Because it's scary. It's terrifying. Only the truly dedicated transfurries continue hacking. Well, there are other people, but like, a lot of them are furries. There are a lot of furries in the hacking community, no doubt about it. Ever heard how Epic Game cut its staff on the regular just to make more? Oh, yeah, they all do that. They've all done that. And I know why. Like, that's not, the thing is that is nothing new. That is nothing new. They have always done that. What's unusual is there's so many of them doing it in the same quarter. Like basically fourth quarter 23. So many of them doing it like since last year and now. That's what's unusual. That is what's unusual. So I am like, they're predicting a crash. Like they're predicting a financial crisis. Because it's running out of a burning building and stealing the silverware on your way out. That's what you're seeing. Yeah, Activision did it. Epic did it. Hasbro did it. Fucking ironically, I don't think Microsoft did. Or did they? Let me see. Okay, yeah, Microsoft did. Did Bethesda? Oh, yeah, they cut it across the board. Okay. So, yeah, that would have affected Bethesda as well. Blizzard is part of Activision, so it affected them. Hey, Flashman, how you doing? Yeah, tech growth is like, forget it. It's done. Oh, yeah, no, GL, you're right. You're right. The thing is that I don't think that here's what creates a financial crisis. People realizing they're not going to get their money. They're predicting that they're not going to be able to get their money. Like they have made bad loans or bad borrows. And enough of those, because it's always both, right? You know, and enough of those causes a financial crisis. 2008, perfect example. There could be another 2008. It won't look exactly the same because all those houses are already gone. All the people have already been thrown out of their houses. You know, but something has got to give. It has to. You can't price everyone out of living. Because then what? Because then what? If the necessities become unreachable, then what? That means there's not enough money in the system. There's not enough money in the system, or prices are too high, or both. There's going to be nothing left to squeeze. That's the thing. Something has got to give. And I think it might be real estate. I think it's going to be real estate. Because it's so fucking expensive in the places where people need homes the most. You know, it's the single biggest expense. Because, and if you throw people out now, which they may do, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to buy? Nobody. Maybe some land developers is probably what they're hoping for. But in a lot of cities, that doesn't matter like you think it does. You think it would. That's the problem with pricing out the middle class. Real estate or the medical field? Well, the medical field is oh man. Oh wow. Yeah, that needs a complete overhaul. Not just the policies, but the whole thing needs an overhaul at this point. The investment and hedge funds got involved in owning hospitals, and it's been nothing but a nightmare. It's been nothing but a nightmare. But I think it's gonna be real estate because, like, as important as real estate is, medicine is more important. Like, if they're going to bail anything out, it's probably going to be the medical industry. Yeah, so who's going to be president in the next 4 years is really going to fucking matter because it's going to happen soon. The irony being that the little guy will take the hit. They absolutely will take the hit. But I think the lower part of the upper class is also going to take a hit. I think they're also going to take a hit. Because they're the ones who are involved in a lot of these, like, bad loans and bad borrows. Yeah, you could buy land, but you can't buy a longer life expectancy. Yeah, longer life expectancy more expensive. Also, only an idiot like Trump would be okay with, like, more of the population dying than is strictly necessary. And we know this because he's already done it. He's already let that happen. He already let that happen. He did everything to make that worse. The thing that I think is so sad is that if you wanted to roll something back to previous levels, our reliance on the free market should be it. That's where it should be. You shouldn't be allowed to buy debt. Period. You shouldn't be allowed to buy debt. I think there should be a community chest that goes to personal debt management. You know, a type of small business welfare, if you will. I think that should exist. But the debt market needs to go away. It's what's creating one of the things that's creating all the problems. Yeah, a better system. I agree. A better system would be socialist for needs, capitalist for wants. I absolutely agree. Like, if you want a house, if you need a roof, socialism. If you want a house with a pool, capitalism. Because we know what the needs are. We know what the needs are. Come on. Roof over your head, door that locks, access to water and electricity. Hell, probably access to internet at this point. You know, but definitely shelter, door that locks so you have a place to keep your stuff where it's a little bit safe. Electricity to power shit and water to wash and drink. Well, and food. And there should be an interconnectedness between those systems, between the systems that do that. You know, like a central database that all of those places like pull things from, like pull information from. It's like, okay, you're in this system. You know, you're in the welfare system. You know, each department handles a different thing because they need to be handled differently, but they all take information from the same spot. Like needs to happen with healthcare. Like all your charts should be in the same spot. All your prescriptions should come from a central database. Because we're now at the point where like you can't just get rid of that information. Having it on a accessible, you don't even need to bring up cloud computing because it's just the way things are done. So that's about as safe as that's about as resistant to information destruction as you can get at the moment. So having like a centralized system that keeps your medical records, including your prescriptions, why not? Like fucking why not? You know, that seems like that would be a really good idea. In fact, a lot of other countries have that. That in and of itself would help so much. And it would reduce cost. Because then all the information is findable. And have it be like the prescription system. It's like, yeah, you can access these things, but like you're given a number in the system, like doctors have for making prescriptions. You're like, that's one of the things that's on that notepad that they used to give you. There's so many things that would be very, 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 that they would be work. You would have to do it, but it's doable. It's very doable. In fact, that should be the next stage of, like, Obamacare, is to set this up. Because all you have to do is make it. Doctors will use it. Doctors will absolutely fucking use it. And all the expertise you need exists. It all exists. It's one of the things that makes me so upset about the whole thing is that we're not talking about something that's impossible to do. It's super possible. It's super, super possible. The only thing that's in the way is people. All the technology is there. The system, it's a system that works. Most of the big problems have been solved, by other countries. All right, talk to you later, Flashman. Yeah, well, the thing that's upsetting is that we don't even need to, we don't need to cut that much money out of the defense spending. It's like it's like 0.1% that we would need every year to keep it running. No, I can't do it. Talking about. What are you talking about? And if you're worried about government tyranny, make it an independent agency. Either make it an independent agency or one that responds to Congress. Because they never talk about that option, do they? Congress already would hold the purse strings. They would already hold the purse strings. Because they already do. By default. When they cut the budget for the fucking United States Postal Service, who does that? It's Congress. Oh, it'll be tyranny. Because you can't be trusted to fund it properly? You're the ones who control the budget. It clearly, and it would clearly come under the balance of powers. You just impeached the fucking head of Homeland Security. You don't trust anyone to run a national health service? Because it could be tyranny? You just got... You just impeached a guy that nobody thought was impeachable. We talk about tyranny. You couldn't control it. What are you talking about? You're Congress. You are Congress. You just don't want people to have it. We don't want to give the president that much power. He wouldn't have that much power. Obama had to get that thing through Congress. He couldn't do it by executive order. He had to get it through Congress. Wouldn't that indicate that Congress would ultimately be the one in control? And you're talking about tyranny. Tyranny of what? Tyranny of what? You're the motherfucker. You're the mofos in charge. You're just afraid that no one will vote Republican anymore. And you won't be getting them sweet kickbacks. Which is really asswipe money. Like, all told. A couple million? That's asswipe money. Microsoft just bought Bethesda for $170 billion. A blockbuster movie costs $200 million. And you talk about 10. Good fucking God. No, they just want to reinstall some form of nobility. They want to reinstall some sort of rulership. No, we'd rather have King Trump. Fuck you. No one talks to me about king in America. King is an asswipe in this country. Yeah, they love to play that stupid game, establish the agenda, how much it all costs, pull a major dog and pony show to show how much their agenda costs and threatens a dine and dash until they get their way. Yeah. Yep, you're not wrong. That's pretty accurate. Yeah, billionaires are already functional oligarchs. Yeah, no, they totally are. The problem is that they're not loyal to America. Can't have that much money and be loyal to a people. That's why they all like Putin. Because he's pulled the trick where loyalty to him is quote unquote loyalty to the state. Think Trump won't try to pull that shit? You think people won't fall for it? They already did. That was the Trump administration. They already did fall for it. Don't want to be an American idiot, you know. So don't be. Don't be an American idiot. How do you not be an American idiot? Well, simple. think about things that are uncomfortable. Really think about them. Really think about them and learn about them. Things that make you uncomfortable. That starts kicking your brain into high gear. It really does. Take up an art. For real. For real. Take up an art. Learn who you are. You'll be a lot less anxious. You know? And you'll start taking care of yourself. Once you learn who you are and learn to value that through the practice of art, it becomes easier to learn to take care of yourself because now you have something that you value about you. And yeah, there's still going to be mental health issues. But that's a multifaceted issue. It's the chemicals in your head. It's the way you live your life. It's the way you think about yourself. It's all of that. Get uncomfortable. And learn to face it. That's how you don't be an American idiot. Someone says, America's based on slavery. Think about that for a bit. Look it up. Get beyond the, well, every country does that. Because no, they didn't. A lot of them did. But not all societies do. It's not a dead cert. Because even then, the way slaves are allowed to be treated, that's also an issue. That's also an issue. And the problem is America had carte blanche. Slave owners in America had carte blanche. They could just do anything. Not true in a lot of other countries. Not true in every country. There's rule. There was in some of those countries that had slaves had rules about it. You still weren't allowed to just murder somebody in a lot of them. You still couldn't just kill them. In America, you could do anything. That's why it was so bad. That's why it was so bad here. Yeah, we have to get used to the fact that we had a war about that. Yeah, Canadian World War I war crimes. Canada's got to deal with that. It's got to deal with that. Just like America has to deal with the fact that we had a war over slavery. And that's not an overstatement. It's not an oversimplification. It's not ignoring economic or states' rights shit because it is central to all of it. All those arguments were created to defend the institution of slavery. And if you want to be fair about it, talk about the abolitionists. Talk about the abolitionists. And say America was based on slavery, but it also always had a strong abolitionist movement. you know. There were Southern abolitionists. When do we hear anything about those guys? They were around, they existed, and they weren't all black. There are a lot of white Southern abolitionists. But those states don't want to talk about that because they don't want to have to talk about slavery and make themselves look bad. It's like, well, you have heroes. You have bona fide heroes of this. Why not? Why not honor them? Why not honor the Southern abolitionists? They existed. You know, you don't know who they are. You know? Like the Southern abolitionist movement was actually quite strong. They were considered a threat. You know, John Brown was one of them. He was born in Connecticut, but he lived in the South. You know, we talk a lot about like the northern abolitionists, but there were southern abolitionists. We don't talk about them. You know, white ones. Yeah, there was Angela Grimke. She's Southern Carolina. Yeah, she's pretty white. Yeah, I'm sure they're. I'm sure if we go back, we can find. Yeah, Cassius Marcellus Clay. Let's see, James Longstreet, Elizabeth Van Loo. Benjamin Lundy. Bunch of dudes you'd never heard of. Why can't they be Southern heroes? Southerners who basically were like, no. White Southerners, for that matter. Bring those guys up. Bring those people up. Because most of the black abolitionists that were already Southern. Stands to reason, right? But no, they're putting up statues of General Custer. The fuck? That guy lost. Remember the Alamo for what? The day you lost? They tried to take the Alamo from us. They did take the Alamo from you. Very handily. Mexico just came in and said, ours now. It's all crazy. It's all fucking crazy. You know what? Let's change the tone up. Chris Pratt. Zoe Saldana. Of course. The Batista. Oh, and the Amy Grant. Can't forget her.
Getting down and dirty with a Procyon loader. Got no people skills, but he's good with motors. That weird thing by his side, an infantilized Sequoia. The two of them walk by, people say, oh boy. They ask me why I'm bringing a baby into battle. That's really irresponsible and getting them rattled. I say, give me
me a break. Get off my back, damn it. I never learned parenting. My daddy was a planet. James Gunn, everybody. And the man.
In these times of hardship, just remember, we are Groot.
And Chris Pratt again. Go. Extreme. Take part to your dreams. Cause on a flying thing. Tear your world apart. Watch the magic start. Do you wanna do you really wanna taste it? What's going up? What's coming down?
Did you know? John Cena couldn't rehearse the opening dance sequence with the rest of the cast because he was busy with another project. So Alan Tudyk, whose wife Carissa Barton choreographed the dance, stood in for Cena during rehearsals. Subscribe for more fun facts. Did you know?
I wonder if they have any, like, fucking video. There's gotta be video of that somewhere. Yeah, the song is by the Wigwams.
Set the camera, everybody.
Set and 3, 2, 1.
Maybe this will have it.
Each actor would walk into the room, and they were all nervous. The opening title sequence is going to be a dance number. And so you can imagine, if that's all the information you have, am I going to be learning in a minute and a half of complex dance material? Like, I'm not practiced at this. I wasn't going for perfection. There's something about each character bringing their own quality that keeps it interesting. So there was sort of finding a fine line between nailing it and allowing for some freedom for imperfection as well. process started with getting a phone call, and got the song, and I had about a minute to grab a few different ideas, and then fast forward to a couple of days later, I had a chance to come up with some more specific ideas for how I would see it, and I just kind of like went from there. So the very seeds of the dance actually started over a weekend when I was just grabbing, influences and different ideas, and the rest just kind of took off. My husband, who's an actor, his name is Alan Tudyk, sort of represented for me an ideal choreographic assistant in the sense that he's not a trained dancer, but he moves really well. So we got into a studio and came up with the very first phrase together. And then from there, we just continued to build it out. When John Cena was not available to stand in, Alan would step in for him. There was something about his self-consciousness that also allowed me to see how the movement might translate on other actors who don't consider themselves to be dancers. And there was a certain comic element to it. So I was very, very aware of that as I was doing this as well, that if we take it very seriously and approach it very seriously, the ridiculousness of it will take care of the funny part, and it'll be a nice balance between, which is also representative of the show. It's this insane world that James has created.
How many people does this blow up?
I don't know. I invented it this morning.
What?
Eat peace, mother.
I did a lot of research on them. I found some clips of Danielle dancing, and I was told a little bit later in the process that Jen Holland is a former gymnast, so also body awareness. And Steve Agee surprised me with how quickly he was able to move, because he's 6'6".
Oh, damn.
I was pretty impressed by Robert Patrick's hip thrust. He used just 150%
Yeah.
hip thrust. He did not hold back. And I didn't see that until the day. In rehearsals, he held back for me, and then he just saved it all for the shoot, which was fun. I expected a lot of John, just because I had been told that he's very, very quick study, and he's willing to
Yeah.
He's
He
a
understands
great collaborator,
choreography,
and,
not necessarily
so
dance,
expectations
but
were high,
choreography itself.
and sure
That's
enough, it
not
was
surprising.
one of the most hyper-focused hours in my professional life. Like, there are just some people that are laser-focused. A truly impressive person.
Oh my God. He's hugging me. He's hugging me. Dad, grab my phone. I don't want to move.
The shoot was one day, which is insane. I started staging it in HQ, so the Peacemaker headquarters, the set. So when we shifted from that space onto a stage, I was able to pull a lot of the influence from the original choreography that happened in the HQ space onto the stage. I had to modify a lot, and there's actually, I would say, about half of it is different. It had to change because it's a very different, the stage is much more presentational. Like the double doors, which were originally the van, on the stage became building double doors in the back of the stage. And some of the camera movements were created in the space, in the HQ space, and we were able to use those on the stage.
Man, I wonder what the
work
on-set
that I
version would have
made
looked like.
in HQ had a big influence on the final work on the stage, and I think that's some of the layering that, in watching it, you're not aware of, but adds a depth, adds some dimension to it that otherwise might not have been in there.
Oh, man, that's cool. That is very cool. All right. Oh, out of curiosity, have I seen Blood Honey? No, I haven't seen either of the Blood Honey movies. I'm okay with them existing. I don't know if I probably will watch them at some point, but I haven't yet. Oh, man. Well, I think I should probably get offline now. So I want to thank everyone for coming. I especially want to thank George, Epiphany's Realm, Yishify, and Bronson Wright Wolf for their donations this evening. Thank you for being so generous. You know, the stream absolutely relies on that kind of generosity. Not gonna lie, you know, needs to be here. I will be checking out Lisa Frankenstein. I will be checking that one out. Until next time, remember, hail Satan. He loves you, and he's the little fucking voice inside your head that tells you to say fuck you to the people you hate. And for that, remember always, Disco Inferno, Ave Satanas, Ad Asperis, Ad Inferni, and remember, wipe your ass, kids.